This meeting is being recorded.
Hello, friends, and welcome to the My Toolbox podcast. My name is Cheryl Mays, and I am your host today. For the next few weeks, we will be engaging in a new podcast series called Love Letters, where we will focus on the things that bring joy to our guests, whether it's their passions or what does that look like as far as their love letters are concerned. So today, my very special guests are my precious girls, my daughter and her bestie, Courtney, my daughter, Sharice, and her bestie, Courtney. I absolutely love these two knuckleheads more than I could say. They are my joys. And I think you'll find out after we start having a conversation why. So as I said, over the next few weeks, we will feature several different guests to talk about their particular love letters. Today, our love letter is going to be to motherhood. And I want my girls to talk about what, if they could write a love letter to motherhood, what would that be? So I will allow them to introduce themselves. Courtney, Sharice, whoever wants to take it, go ahead and introduce yourselves.
I'll go first. My name is Sharice Mays, and I am her daughter.
My name is Courtney, and I am her unofficial daughter.
She's official. She's official. Oh, and just so my listeners and my viewers will understand, we will also have another special guest that will come on shortly, and that is Kathy Buggs, Courtney's mom. So she and I tag team with these two, but we'll understand it more later. So ladies, here's your question. What is your love letter to motherhood? If you could write a love letter to motherhood, what would it say?
I'll go first. Okay, I'll go first. I would say the main word would be thank you, and just explaining the gratitude that I have for the peaks and valleys of motherhood, and the gratitude I show for the upbringing that stemmed from motherhood.
And because Sharice just gave me a grandpup, she's starting to really understand motherhood a little bit more. Okay, Courtney.
Yeah, being that I don't have children, so I think my letter was like directly to be like my mom. It's for sure gratitude and being thankful, but like thank you for patience. Like I know.
Yes.
I told my mom this the other day. It was really funny. I said, I get why moms sit in the driveway like for 30 minutes before they enter the house. And like I do that now.
It's the woosah moment.
And I do that to like prepare for me in my apartment. Like literally I park for like 30 minutes. I'm like, okay, Courtney, now I gotta feed myself, I gotta bathe myself, I gotta clean up after myself. Like just patience with dealing with myself. So like I just for sure am eternally grateful for my mom's patience with me.
Yeah, see, there's something to be said about that. And I'm glad you brought that up, because not everybody understands that if they have not walked down that road of motherhood. And God bless the women who decide not to have children, because that is a whole different conversation that we just don't have the time to get into, but God bless them. I like that women who have decided not to have children made that choice for themselves. That is their choice. But as a mom of three, my absolutely beautiful daughter and my amazingly handsome two sons, I am so glad that I made that decision to become a mother, because it is the most rewarding thing that I've ever done in my life. You are my joy. My children, every day that I wake up, I'm so excited that I have my babies. I can't even describe it. So what else? Tell me something unique that you've learned about your moms. And let's just remember that this is going to be broadcast to a public audience. So mind what you say.
No, I think one thing I talked to my therapist about, like we talked about this months ago, is like humanizing your parents and realizing like your parents are also people. So like one thing I did it with my mom and my dad and my grandpa. And I asked like, what was life like before me? And like just like listening to like my mom and my dad's stories of like who they were as people before they, became parents is always interesting. But also like my mom is super selfless. Like she's really, really like giving. Like I can call her and like she's she answers. Like she's willing to give everything I needed. Like when she worked downstairs in Congressman Cooper's office, like I remember having like bad days or like stressful days, and like the convenience of being able to literally go downstairs and as a grown, at that time I think I was 29 or 30, like crawl into my mom's lap while she's sitting at the desk and like sit there and like cry, like her hold me like a baby. Like I'm super thankful for that.
Yeah, I'm super thankful for that now. So there's that. I totally understand.
I think mine goes kind of hand in hand with Courtney's, but when I think of like the humanizing your parents part, I think of like at 22, I didn't know what I was doing. Even now, I'm about to be 32, and I'm like, I'm still trying to figure it out. So realizing that when I was 16, you were doing the best you could with what you could. And I also had to realize too, parents are going through the same thing at the same time as a child. This is our first time having an argument about this. This is our first time having an argument about that. This is the first time I had to discipline you on this. So I'm figuring out just as much as you're figuring out what's going on, your emotions, my emotions. So I think that part really helped me and see my parents as humans and not my parents, because sometimes when we're younger we think our parents can do no wrong, and then when they do wrong that we either think our world is over or it's our fault that they did wrong, and it's like, no, they're humans, you're gonna mess up, and I'm sure at 35 I won't know what's going on, because it's my first time being 35, and I'm sure when I have children it'll be my first time having a child that bumped their head against the table when I said don't do that, or so I had to really realize that you did the best you could with what you could with the children that you had.
Amen. Amen to that. And you know what? That's huge, because even with me, I still have to remember that my parents are human. And it's, I heard a comedian a couple of weeks ago. It was related to, he was talking about, you don't want to think about your parents having sex because that's just something that just makes you cringe. And I'm like, yeah. And what you're talking about is humanizing your parents. I'm like, oh my God, I have to humanize my parents on a lot of different levels. And that's a lot to take. So that's some good feedback. So let me ask you something. If there was one thing that you could say to your parents about changed behavior, something that may have happened to you as a teenager or even younger, what would you say to your parents about, this would have been better if you had done this instead of this? There may be a lot of people looking for that advice, so just put it out there.
So
I see the wheels turning.
I think, and not a critique on my parents' parenting style specifically, but like other conversations that I've had with people where I'm just like, oh yeah, this makes a lot of sense. Like, yes, I'm thankful for, the shelter and the clothes on my back and the food on my stomach, but I think also like that type of support is equally as important as like emotional support. And there's sometimes where I think I would have traded a couple of my favorite t-shirts for like some emotional support in a situation. So I think that was probably like would be one. Not saying that my mom doesn't support me emotionally, because she cries as easily as
oh my gosh.
But yeah, I think that's like one thing like that I talk to with like a lot of my friends. They're like, yeah, like you could have.
Yeah, and that's you know what, and to your point, Courtney and I already shared with Courtney, I told Kathy when she joins, she can't cry today because I know her. She will tear up, even though she's been warned.
I think I can speak for a lot of us when I say communication styles. Oftentimes when parents, and even me as an auntie, a child they'll, well, why? But why do I have to do that? Or because I said so. Instead of explaining like, hey, I don't want you to do this because this is a consequence, this is a consequence, and this is a consequence of you doing that action. I think a lot of times if parents were to actually sit down and say, hey, I don't want you going to the dance tonight because I know that somebody's going to be there and I don't like that person around you. Or I don't want you to go to the mall tonight because on the news earlier, they said there was, some threats and some fights, but, I want to keep you safe. So this is why I'm telling you, I don't want you to go. instead of just all of us, or not all of a sudden, but just it's like a populated answer. It's second nature. It's because I said so, or because I'm your mom and these are my rules. I'm your dad, and what goes on under my roof is my call. Just explain.
I really want to know.
Because
I'm logical. I just need to know.
Right.
Why does this be like this?
And and I love that. And let me tell you something, my daughter, my love. Let me tell you a time when I did do that, and you totally ignored me anyway. I remember you were just at 2 years old. Yes, I'm taking it way back. And I kept telling you, I was in the kitchen cooking, and I kept telling you, don't touch the stove, don't touch the stove. It's hot. Don't touch the stove. It will burn you. Don't touch the stove. And I remember seeing all you could do, you waited till my back was turned and you went up and you touched the stove and you was like, oh, hot. I'm like, yep, but I bet you won't do that anymore.
You'll never do it again.
Exactly. And you never did. So I totally understand that, because one of the things that I do when I'm talking to my young people is I try to make them understand that you will reach a point in your life at your age where somebody is going to ignore you or not take you seriously simply because you are a particular age. And I don't want any young person to ever think that they're not being heard because they happen to be this age. I even had a conversation with a friend of mine just yesterday. She said, she and I were in a group setting, and there was a young lady there. There's my grandpup.
I know. She's trying to get on camera. I'm sorry.
There was another young lady present who was giving some advice. And my friend said, I don't think I want to take advice from a 20-something-year-old. What can a 20-something-year-old teach me? And I was like, you might be surprised if you just open up and listen. You might be surprised at what you will learn from somebody who is, just because they're younger doesn't mean that they haven't experienced things. So I hear what you're saying, and you're right. It would be nice for parents to be able to communicate on a higher level, but in defense of parents everywhere, generally speaking, in the time that we are saying to you, oh, don't do that, we know exactly what it is. It's up here, but we are moving at the speed of light. So we're like, okay, so yeah, don't do that. And then we're on to the next thing. So trust me, especially when there's more than one of you, we have to watch out for everybody, see what everybody's doing. So I totally get that. So what is something that you would look at your friends and say, my mama did this or my daddy did this, and you don't have that? Something that you are excited about, excited to share, or something that you're proud that they did or supported you in, something?
You know what? Going to college, I realized that families did not sit at the dinner table for dinner. A lot of people I know and grew up with did not have nightly dinners at the table. And that when I say it was such a culture shock for me, because we sat at the table every night. I don't care if it was Monday, Saturday, especially on Sundays, but literally every night. And even if one parent had to work, the other parent was still at the table with all three of us, sitting down, eating and talking. And that just blew my mind that people didn't grow up like that. That's one thing that I will always hold close to my heart. I'm just like, it blew my mind. It blew my mind.
I think with me, I'm really lucky to have I had to whip them into shape now. I have gained I gained the freedom of real freedom of speech, with my parents. I know some of my friends are like, oh, I can't say that around my mom. And I'm like, oh, I say everything around my parents. I really am appreciative that they let me speak how I speak, and they don't try to censor me or negate any of my ideas or my thought process. If I need to get it out, just okay, we're giving, and I just get it all out. So I know a lot of people don't have that freedom with their parents. So I'm really thankful for that.
And something else that I've learned, let me tell you something, being a parent is trial and error completely. We figure out, what we figure is if we don't break you in the first 2 years, we have won the race. So nobody got broken, nobody died. We have won the race. But one of the things that I figured out, along the lines of open communication, I learned this mainly from my boys, that they will tell you anything and everything. And you need to be prepared for that. And so my lesson here, I guess, is I learned very quickly that if you, for some reason, dissuade them from being open with you, it's very likely going to lead to them not wanting to have a conversation with you at all. So as hard and as painful as it sometimes can be to listen to all of those stories, you as a parent have to listen. And honestly speaking, because I know there's some parents who will agree with me on this, honestly speaking, sometimes we are looking at y'all, we don't hear a thing you're saying.
Oh, yeah.
We are just there to listen or to pretend to listen. I'm like,
right.
Yeah, sure.
That one chance for the kids to like express themselves, and then after that, it gets good.
It's an open book. You'll become, because I say all the time, we know each other. Like I know Courtney sometimes better than our parents would know us, because we're so, like, not now, because obviously we tell y'all everything, but growing up, your friends know you way better than anybody because you had that connection and you don't have that sense of judgment. So if you grow up with a parent that's easily, just walking up and I could just, hey, I want to talk to you about this, and you can sit down and you can honestly talk about it. You don't have to hide details. You're going to know your child a little bit better than what you thought you did. You're after that conversation, you'll be like, well, goodness, I didn't. Okay. So this is her personality. This is what she likes to do. This is, because we tend to hide facts from my parents. But
really? What a shock. I don't believe that. Wow, that's new.
But yeah, I think that growing up and being able to talk to y'all about any and everything really helped the bonds that we have, especially now as adults.
Yeah, and I can tell you there have been some times when I'm like, Lord, I know I just need to let them say whatever it is they need to say, but golly, I didn't realize I was going to get everything.
I didn't know she had that much to say.
Right. And you know what, Sharice, to your point, that was a culture shock for me to learn that there were parents out there whose children weren't open with them. I didn't understand that when a couple of my friends would say, I can't get my child to tell me anything. I'm like, move to my house. Trust me. They will tell you everything. But I learned very quickly that is absolutely important. And it helps me in my work now with young people. There's a listening skill that parents don't always possess that is extremely important. Even if you are pretending to listen, like, it's really extremely helpful to your children if they believe that you are hearing what they say. So that's good. Thank you for that. And so any questions for me? No questions are off the table unless they are going to embarrass me publicly. So go ahead.
What is your letter to childhood?
That's a good one.
That's a very good one. Okay. So now you have to ask Kathy this when she jumps on, because I think, look, I have my tissue for her. My letter to childhood would be, dear babies, from the first moment that I laid eyes on you, I felt like it was heaven on earth. I can remember each one of my children being born and the feeling that I had in my heart at that time. It was like nothing that I've ever experienced in my life. So I turned into the biggest mama bear you will ever meet. And that is why having that feeling in my heart right now is exactly why I will, it's always going to be 10 toes down for my children. I will, if anybody comes against my children, they have to come to me first. Always, always, always. They are the light of my life. And every time when I see them and when I see them interacting with other people, it just makes me proud. Just makes me very proud, because they are just the loves of my life.
Stop.
Y'all are just absolutely. And my bonus children as well. It's really interesting when you have children that you have a closeness with. and appreciation for when they bring their friends around, you know that, well, for me, I know that my children are going to be attracted or adapted. They will adapt people who are like them in a sense. And so because I know your heart, Courtney, and I know my daughter's heart, you just are one of my daughters now. So yeah, frickin' frack.
We're stuck for life.
Yes, yes, I know. And that's what your mom told me. She said, well, they're yours on the weekend. I was like, wait, what?
You know what? We're pretty good on the weekends. You really need to, when we slip out during the week.
Oh yeah.
That's
Oh, well, that's Kathy's on duty during the week. I'm the weekend mom.
Yeah.
We've been doing pretty good this winter. It's been too cold.
I appreciate that. No need for the bail money. So what else? Any other questions?
What would be one thing you would change about your parenting? Not as your parenting style, but just one thing while you were, in between my oldest brother being born and my last brother being out of the house. Is there anything that you would have changed?
You know what? As a parent, I think we always think about the things that we could change in the moment. At this moment, I think, oh, and speak of Kathy, there she is. At this moment, I think I would probably just want more time. I would love to be able to take y'all back to when you were little bitty babies. Hey, Kathy Bugs.
Hello.
Your timing is impeccable, my friend.
Perfect timing.
Yes, perfect timing. So you get to answer this question in a minute, but so we've had a really good conversation with them, and their question was, what is your love letter to motherhood? And now the question is, repeat the question, Cherie, so Kathy has time to think about
it. Between your first being born and your last being out of the house, any time in between mothering and parenting, is there anything that you would have changed or would have liked to do different or have done differently?
So yeah, and you think about that. So for me, the only thing I would have done different is try to hang on to you being babies a little bit longer, because when I see babies now, I'm like, oh my gosh, I miss that so bad. Not that I would ever want another one, trust and believe. But I just miss that with y'all. I'm truly, I think amongst some of my friends, I'm a little bit of a phenomenon. I was so excited to be pregnant, I couldn't stand myself. I was like, oh my gosh, this is gonna be so great. And my friends were like, are you insane? I'm like, no, it's gonna be so great. So I just enjoyed that time when y'all were little bitty babies, and just, it was so fun. And so Kathy, I have my tissue ready over here. So when you start to cry.
Talking about being pregnant, I think for me, being pregnant was the healthiest I've ever felt in my life. Both girls. There was no morning sickness, no swelling of the ankles, no spreading of the nose, any of that stuff. So I guess I carried two pretty good girls, because there was no sickness there at all.
Yeah, that's me. I ate whatever I wanted to eat, and I gained totally from the time, each one of my pregnancies, I gained a total of about 10 pounds for the entire time.
More than that, with this one in front of me, I was every day at a Mexican place somewhere. Chips and salsa.
That explains why we love guacamole so much.
You know what my thing was? I was at Shoney's all the time, because there was a Shoney's that was about 1.5 miles from my office. And me and my girlfriend, who were both pregnant at the same time, she would call me or I would call her and say, hey, you want a hot fudge cake today? We would go to Shoney's. And my thing was the spaghetti dinner. It was the spaghetti dinner and a hot fudge cake. But with Charisse, my sweetness was, you remember those chewy sweet tarts?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
That was what I ate all the time. I literally craved them all the time.
I never knew that. And I don't like sweet candy. I love sour candy. So that could.
Yeah.
Thanks, Mom. I appreciate it.
Hey, anytime, I'm here for you, my friend.
Girl.
So Kathy, we've been talking about a variety of different things, and I asked them about one thing, if they could change something about parenting, what would that be? And they talked a little bit about communication skills and the talking a little bit more about telling them why we tell them not to do things. For instance, don't do that because I said so, or, because this is my house and my rules and blah, blah, blah. And so I had to remind Sharice of a time when I told her not to do something because she was going to be burned, and she did it anyway and she got burned. So,
Yeah.
So you see, we are smart people. We know what's going on, regardless of whether y'all
Yeah.
think so or not.
Yes, exactly.
So now that you've grilled me, you get to grill Kathy. So ask Kathy any questions you want to ask her.
I think I still want to ask my question of so our question, Michelle posed us was like, what is your letter to motherhood? So as a mom, what is your letter to raising your children?
See that?
So good. She's so
Tell me
good.
how special I am.
She's
Let's
good.
hear
Come on.
Come on.
Without look, and I'm looking in my car to see if I've got tissue, and I
Oh
don't.
gosh.
Oh, the tears are
Oh,
the tears are
brother.
welling up right
Barbara.
And see, for my girls, there's both of them are so special in different ways. I think the reason that Courtney and I bump heads a lot is because we're so much alike.
I make her think. I'm like, Mom, think. I'm logistics. I'm like, Mama, let's be practical. Come on. Let's clock in.
Just gonna hang up and go back to physical therapy. That's what I'm gonna do. My letter.
You can go ahead. All right. I told you not to cry, but I'll let you shed a tear.
We'll let
Go
you
ahead.
slide this time.
Hanging on by a thread.
We'll let you slide this time.
Y'all.
We won't tell anybody.
Okay, tell me, ask me the question again, Courtney. And I'm gonna go right to it.
What is your letter to your children? Your letter to childhood?
To my children, or to my childhood?
To me and Allison.
To Allison, because she's
Both of them. Yeah.
I have to do two separate letters because they're going to be two different letters. To Allison, sorry for not always being there. Because I was younger and didn't know any better. By trial and error. But I'm always there, even though she doesn't know. And for my youngest, my mini me in front of me, even though sometimes we clash and we bump heads, I still understand where you're coming from when you try to actually be the mother opposed to the daughter. Is that what I'm talking about? That when you tell me what to do? So my letter to the both of you is that I love you with all my heart and my soul, and I wouldn't change a thing. So thank you, Courtney, LaShawn, Bugs.
I'm like, girl, it's trying to steal my identity.
And see, Kathy, you got me boo-hooing over here now.
Thank you for being special. Thank you for keeping me in line when you think I've traveled off road a little bit, more so than less. And for you, Miss Reese, as a child as well, as my child, even though I didn't birth you. Thank you for keeping that one in line.
Hey, wait a minute.
And thank you for actually being a part of my life as well. So wouldn't change a thing. Yeah, there's been some bumpy roads, but I think that's my letter is to thank God for blessing me with 3 amazing daughters. How about that?
Yeah, and that's what I said too. Even though Courtney is your child, she's like my daughter too. So it's pretty cool when you have what I said about Sharice is or my children is that they always attract people who, when they bring them around us, we're like, oh yeah, love this one. Oh my gosh, love this one. I cannot recall, well, with the exception of maybe one person, maybe two. I cannot recall anybody that she's ever brought around me that I was like, oh, no, 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 no. So everybody that I have met as one of her friends has been just a blessing. I
Yes.
remember going to, what was it? I forget which birthday it was. And she invited me to lunch. They were all gathering to have lunch. I, like a silly person, thought it was just going to be she and I and maybe a couple of her girlfriends. I show up and there's like 25 people there. I'm like, what is happening? Why am I even here? But that speaks to our children. And I'm like, okay, I guess I'm invited to the party. So I just sat down, ate lunch, and was like, okay, deuces, I got to go now. But
I think that was for Juneteenth. That was for Juneteenth when we were all eating and we.
Oh, no. This was long before that.
Oh, was it? Okay.
Yeah, this was, I think, the first time that I met Mylan.
Okay.
It was long before that. So I was just like, where are the other parents? And I kept looking around. I was like, I'm the only parent here. This is weird. But my daughter invited me, so she must care that I'm there. So it was, that was a special moment because I don't think a lot of parents get that. And that's the other thing that we talked about. Something that was a little bit of a culture shock when they were growing up. Sharice talked about finding out that not everybody sat down at the dinner table every night to eat dinner when she went to college. Right. That was a culture shock. For me, it was learning that not every parent had an open relationship or open conversation with their children. Mm-hmm. Like, my children, God bless, having boys is such a delight. But what I shared with them is that they will tell you anything and everything. Mm-hmm. And it was a kind of a shock for me to learn that not every parent had that kind of relationship with their children. So that's a blessing for me. And even to this day, and I told them, as even to this day, I don't get surprised anymore. I don't turn my children away if they tell me they have something they want to talk to me about, because I just brace myself for, Lord knows there's no telling what this might be.
Brace for impact. Just
exactly.
Brace for impact.
Exactly. And there's just no telling.
And Cheryl, talking about being in the same room with your children's friends, for me, I got a big dose of it at Courtney's birthday party at Pinewood Social, and and just being there just to pay the check. And yes. Well, boy, was that a check.
I put the receipt on my fridge.
But just to be in the room and just to see them together, and the friendship and the love that they all had for each other. Mm-hmm. It was so amazing, because
that is amazing.
That every guy and girl in that room would have taken a bullet for my child, and she would have done the same for each of them.
And I think that is the rarity that I absolutely love, because even to this very day, when I tell people, oh, my daughter, simple conversations like having conversations about in politics about voting, young people voting. And I might say, well, I could tell my daughter to tell her friends, and I know that's going to reach at least 25 to 30 people, because she has those people in her life that are engaged and informed, so that I know that if there's an issue that comes up that is directly going to impact them, that if I tell her, she's going to talk to her friends about it, and that's going to create a larger awareness. So it's really a blessing to have all these young people that she's friends with in her life, because they have become my by proxy children as well. And it's really a lot of fun to just kind of be around and watch. And trust me, if I'm ever around them, I'm just sitting back looking like, okay.
You do.
All right. Yeah, because I don't want to interrupt any conversations. I don't want them to think, oh my gosh, Reese's mom is here, so we can't really talk. I'm like, no,
Right.
just pretend I'm not here. I'm gonna go over here and blend into the background.
Right. Right. And the fact that they allow us to stay around means that we're not an embarrassment like we thought we were.
Come on.
Exactly. Like,
Cool
wait,
mom.
I can be in the
The
room with
cool
you and your
mom.
friends, and it's okay. Okay, that's cool. All
Our
right,
friends
girls.
love y'all just as much. They love you guys just as much as y'all love them. I promise.
Oh, well, they are sweet. They are sweet. I absolutely adore your friends. And so, Miss Kathy, you get to ask the girls any question you want to ask them.
What could I, as a mother, done differently to be a better mother?
Reese, I'm gonna let you go first. I think somebody's knocking on my door, so I need to. Oh, let's
What could you have done better? Oof. That's so tough because it's like I can't pinpoint like one single thing.
Mm-hmm.
I think for me, I'll say I can go back to communication because my relationship with my mom now is way better than what it used to be because we used to butt heads a lot too. And I always said that I think it's because we are so much alike in so many ways. So I think it could have just been like better communicating between the both of us really, or just a better understanding. But what I said earlier, Auntie Kathy, was I had to humanize my mom and my dad. So like where she could have been better at communicating, I wish I could have been better at humanizing her in that moment because that's probably the best she could do at that point in time, you know? And I wish I could have tapped more into my, not triggers, but just what makes me shut down. And I wish we could have, as mother and daughter, I wish she could have, as my mom, pinpointed and seen that. And I wish I could have been able to vocalize it. I don't think it's just any one thing, but I do think communication could have been a lot better. But again, you guys did the best of what you could. And at that point, you had never been a parent to one child or 3 children. So it was kind of, chaotic at times, I know. So, but yeah, for me, it's communication.
Piggybacking on top of communication, because I carry a lot of my heart in my head, and I'm in my head a lot, and I need a lot of space to think and get ideas and like process and things like that. I think with me, and it took almost 32 years to realize that I'm still working on growing my space to still give my bigger brain, all of this space. So one, communication styles are really important to me because the way that we communicate is not the same way that you and Allison communicate, and me and Allison don't communicate in the same way that me and Reese communicate. But then also, I think what I'm learning now is that when I'm going through things and I need space, I really don't need space. I think it's the complete opposite. I think what I do is like block myself off. So in a way of like self-preservation to protect myself from any more like further recoil or further damage. But I think in retrospect, I really need somebody to like put their claws in me and be like, no, I'm not leaving your side until we figure this out. I feel like with me, and like Allison says this all the time. She was like, you were such a weird kid. She was like, in a way, she was like, you were just like always doing your own thing. And I don't know why. I don't know if it's because our house just operated in doing their own thing. Like you were busy, dad was busy, me and Allison are 10 years apart. So like, I don't know if it was just everybody just did their own thing. But I think that pushed me into a hyper independent space where now I'm just like, nope, I can do it. And it's just like, no, if you could do it by yourself, there wouldn't be 7 billion people on this planet. Like, I think now, like, I'm doing the work with myself trying to figure out how to ask for help and like not be like, no, 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 I got it. Cause like when I got hit by the tornado, that was hard for me.
Yeah.
And not in a way of like me having lost things, but like people being like, let me help you, and me just, you know,
Not wanting to help.
surrendering. Yeah,
She
like
would not, she would physically like not
it's
let
hard
us
for me to
do
surrender to
anything.
stuff. Yeah, it's really, I don't know. I guess shout out to my dad. Like it's just really hard for me to surrender to stuff because he's the same way. Like he's like, you know what, I'll do it. I'll figure it out and I'll let you know after I've done it. Like, and I'm the same way. And with the tornado, it was really, really hard for me to just like stop and just like let somebody else take the reins. Like I remember my friend Epiphany, we were in the dollar store and we were getting gloves, like gardening gloves, because we were about to go through all that glass. And she was like, she was giving me taking all the stuff out of my hand so she could pay for it. And I was like, no, girl, I was like, I got it. And she yelled at me in the middle of the store and she was like, Courtney, just let me do something for you. And I was like, but it was my apartment. She was like, yes, that was your apartment, but she was like, that was not your tornado that caused you this damage.
Right.
Mhm.
Huh. So yeah, I think that was the story. I'm sorry.
It's
No,
okay.
you know what? And
We were all like, yeah, uh-huh.
I
Right,
love it
yeah.
too, because I remember that tornado quite well. And I remember having to go through that, even though I wasn't involved in it. I went through that with your mom and I was just like, but what about Courtney's apartment? And what about, where's she gonna live? I was stressing for you. So you were
Yeah.
not in it alone, even though you may not have known that everybody was in it with you. You were not in it alone.
March, I'm so glad I don't have to see March 2020 again. Like, cause when I got hit by the tornado, my mom and my dad were moving to a different house, so they were packed up. So like,
Yeah.
when I was displaced by the tornado, like it was like, yes, my parents live 20 minutes down the street, but like everything is packed up. Like I can't even live with them. Like it was that was a lot.
That was,
And like,
yeah,
I know
that was a crazy time. 2020 was that, and I was having this conversation yesterday with someone. We were talking about how long it had been since we'd seen each other in person. And I was like, oh, it's only been about a year or so. And she was like, actually, it's been longer than that because you have to factor in the pandemic years.
That's right. That's
And
right.
so when I was talking to her, I was like, huh, it's been like 3 years since I've seen this particular person. And that was a lot for me, not being able to gather my thoughts around that. I'm still having some pandemic, what's the word I'm looking for?
PTSD.
it's always a trauma.
Yeah, some pandemic
Yeah.
trauma. Yes,
Yeah.
yes,
Yeah.
I
lots
can-
of things.
I can also like say too, you remember when you asked me what's my love letter to, motherhood and parenting, and I said thank you for the peaks and the valleys. Well, to elaborate a little bit on that, without the hard times of being someone's child and the hard times of being someone's mom, you wouldn't really understand and show gratitude to the things that held you together and were the great times, if you will. But I also go back to saying, thank you for making me the person that I am. I could just do a PS at the bottom of that, because as we were just listening to Courtney's, her thought process of what happened and throughout the tornado, without the upbringing of you two, we wouldn't have been able to navigate that alone or together, So like, because you brought me up the way you did, and because I love to help people. As soon as that happened, we got her together, regardless of regardless of her saying, no, I'm okay. We showed up to the storage unit anyway, with her saying, no, I'm good. I'll pack it up. No, ma'am, we're going to go through these bags together and we're going to help you figure it out. Don't worry about this. You go on your trip because you deserve this. You need this. And with Auntie Kathy helping Courtney grow up and raising her to be the person that she is, in that moment, she was allowed to sit back and be like, okay, they're helping me. Okay, go ahead. So, I mean, a lot of people kind of overlook, people think that parenting is just from age 1 to 18. And when you're done, you become your own person. But you were sprinkling little seeds in our lives over the, course of 18 years that help us become the humans that we are and the adults that we are. And it helps us navigate through friendships as well. Because if I hadn't had the upbringing that I have, I probably wouldn't have been in the mental capacity to help Courtney when she really needed me to be there.
Right.
You know, when she says, well, sometimes I say I don't need anybody, I probably would have been like, okay, well, call me when you're free.
Yeah, let me know when you're ready to talk.
Right. Instead of realizing, no, my friend needs help and I can hear that in
Yeah.
her voice. And instead of taking her word for it,
Mhm.
we're gonna figure this out together.
But Reese,
Well,
I
and
think
you know what?
that's a true friend though.
That
Because
is.
that's when to me a true friend is when I don't have to call you and tell you I need my help, need your
Mhm.
help. You can feel it in your spirit. And
Yep.
and that's a true friend.
Absolutely, absolutely. And that's why that's one of the things that I love about my daughter. When I was ill and she showed up and basically took over. I can't tell you the number of times I heard people say that I have to check with your daughter before I do this or this or this, because she said that you are not going to do this. I'm like, well, she thinks that she's the parent, so there's that. But I
And if
let her
she
do
didn't, and
that.
if she didn't say it, I said it, right, Reese?
Sure did.
Mm.
Yeah.
You know what? I feel some kind of way right now, like I'm being teamed up on. Courtney, you're not helping me here. But I do appreciate that. And I will give you that, Sharice. I think it is, it's in how we were raised, because I will credit my mother with giving me a lot of the tools I needed to be able to raise the children that I raised. So, and I think we did pretty good, Kathy.
I think we did too. And I think we did. I just look back even at my first child, we didn't have the therapist that you guys have got access to now, or we all have access to now. When we were growing up, mom was like, go pray,
Yeah.
go talk to, it was everything was, so it wasn't the fact that I could dial up a therapist and say, this is my day to day, please help me. It was like, well, Rum such and such can help you.
Mhm.
And if
Or
you had
it'll
a
be
friend,
okay.
if you had a friend who was in a similar situation, maybe they had gone through something similar before you did, talk to them and see how they managed to get through it. So yeah,
Right.
you're right. You're right.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
look at us now. We've raised two beautiful young ladies. We've got
Yes,
about
we
2
have.
minutes left. So I'm going to give it to y'all to give me some final thoughts before we wrap it up. So Courtney, since you're so quiet over there and you started this, I'm going to let you start with your final thoughts first, because Kathy has to get herself together.
Yeah, I want to just thank y'all for allowing Reese and I to form our friendship on our own. Like Reese and I have always been in each other's lives, kind of just flowing around each other. But I think me and Reese talked about this the other day, and Reese was like, she said she was talking to you, why did you wait so long to introduce me and Courtney? And you were like, I wanted y'all to make y'all's own friendships and y'all's own communities. And I think that was really successful, because sometimes those forced friendships when you're friends by proximity
Mhm.
can kind of
They
those
never
end up
work.
fizzling and kind of showing their true colors. But Reese and I have always flowed in each other's lives. We were friendly, we became friends, we were friendly, we became friends. It was always it was ping pong, and it just constantly worked, and then it just stuck. And I'm like, wow, this is great.
This is great. Wow.
This is great.
I
I
love
don't
this.
know how it would have turned out. Not saying I don't think it would have been bad, but when people force their kids to be friends,
Yeah.
you can kind of see that there's a script to the friendship, and it's just oh, me and this girl are friends because my mom is friends with her mom, or my mom is friends with her sister, or something like that, and it kind of just falls to the wayside. But I think when you put people together, or when people find each other, it's more natural, and I think it's got a longer sustainability.
There
Yeah,
is something to be said about organic friendships. That is what Kathy and I have, organic friendships, since we were 10. So this is what you got to look forward to. You're stuck with us. So
I mean,
Sharice,
it's kind of like seeing it now, because on my screen I see me, then you, then Courtney, then Auntie Kathy, and it's like, okay, this is a look into the past and the future. I like it. It's great. I love this. But yeah, I think I'll say the same. I just appreciate y'all letting us organically navigate and to find each other in the times that we were supposed to find each other. But also allowing us to be who we are as grown women and together. You know, a lot of people would see us and be like, oh God, there they go. But y'all see us and y'all like, those are my daughters. All right, well, just don't go to jail tonight. All right, y'all have fun. Like, y'all allow us to be who we are without judgment. And I really, really, really appreciate that, because you can't find that in everybody. Somebody's going to pass judgment on something that you do. But I know if y'all were to see, and you know, like you said earlier, Mom, when you were at the lunch and you were kind of like just sitting back, like even our friends know they can just be themselves 100% and not try to hide it, not try to be someone else, not try to put on the front because someone's mom is here. I think they actually kind of relax and become more of themselves when you guys are around. So I do appreciate that.
Yeah, and you know what? And the truth be told, Kathy and I are that duo that people say, "Oh Lord, there they are. What's about to happen?"
Where's she at? Where's she
Exactly. I can't tell you the
Does
number
that
of times.
sound familiar, Courtney?
Sounds so familiar.
I can't tell you the number of times when somebody sees one of us, it's like, "Well, where's the other one?" So yeah,
Automatically.
exactly. Well, Miss Kathy, you've got the floor. Would you give us some closing words?
I just appreciate this little circle here. And the crazy part about it, even though Cheryl and I have known each other since we were 10 and 12, we've been in and out of each other's lives. Yeah, we would always see each other when I would go visit my aunt. But we were never, ever, we knew each other. And I think she knew me because of Baby George. I'm gonna just throw that out there.
So you know what? And let me tell you this. I'm probably the one person who did not have a crush on your brother. I always looked at him like he was a brother. I was the one person that didn't have a crush on him.
It was Marsha, right?
Or my baby sister.
It was 100% Marsha. That sounds right.
It was. But what I'm saying is that we were never, because we lost track of each other. Once, you know, she grew up, I grew up, we went our separate ways, and then we would see each other occasionally, but I always knew it was Cheryl from across the street, from Annie Pearl. And then when you and Reese became friends, I had no idea that it was Cheryl's baby until you actually told me it was, and I was like, oh, okay. And then we just kind of crossed paths again. So I think that God places people in your lives for reasons and for seasons. And this one has been in my life for a lot of seasons. And I thank God for her, for being there. And I hope that the two of you can continue to grow and nurture your relationship, just like Cheryl and I have, because it's nothing like having a sister friend that will be there for you in emergency rooms, in restaurants, in clubs, any of those situations that you can just look and be like, okay, it's time to get out of here. So I just thank Cheryl for being able to be a part of my life, or being in my life again, and for her to have such an amazing daughter that I can call my own as well, that loves my daughter as much as I do. So that's my closing.
And thank you, Kathy. So interestingly enough, as all of y'all were talking, and Courtney, you and Sharice were talking about how your relationship was organically grown. Kathy's and I, we are literally walking in the same path, because our friendship started when we were, 10, 12 years old, and we lost track of each other over the years. And then I remember very distinctly, I was going to an event, and they were chartering a bus to take us to wherever this was. I got on the bus and Kathy was there, and I was like, hey. And I sat down next to her and we started talking, and we've been like together ever since. And she is, your mother is just amazing, but you know that. She is just amazing. She is, the one person, everybody has that one person that you can always count on. And what I can count on with Kathy is she can give me a side eye that'll be like, whoops, okay, let me sit back and
What are
stop
you
doing
talking
that.
about?
I think
Okay,
Courtney,
wink, wink.
I think Courtney got that honest. She
Yeah.
got that honest.
She'll give you a side eye, but she's always so kind when she does it, like, come on, let's go. You don't need to be doing that. Let's get out of here. And to your point, I think we have gotten each other through lots of weird things. Like, I don't know if I have any other friends that I can truly say I have been in an emergency room with or for. And we have gone through disasters.
Yeah.
You know, we have a lot of things that we can check off the box. So I'm so grateful and blessed to have you in my life. But look at what we made. These two ladies
that-
right here are absolutely a joy. And so it makes my heart sing when someone says, "Oh, I saw your girls." Like, yeah, I know exactly who that is. I know exactly who that is. But I don't
Exactly.
need you to tell me what they were doing, because whatever they were doing, that's their business. That's not for me. The only time it becomes my business is when there's bail money involved. And then
Right.
I'll call Kathy.
And just for the record, there's never been bill money involved.
Yeah.
There's never been
Right.
bail money that has had to be spent out of the account.
We hadn't had to make that one phone call yet, so we're good.
Right. And let's just make sure that we keep that bail money. We want to retire that bail money account. How about
Yes.
that?
That's right.
Well, I thank you. And for our listening audience, this has been the My Toolbox podcast. We are featuring our series, the Love Letters series. And this is our love letter to motherhood and childhood. So I thank my guests, Courtney Buggs, Sharice Mays, and Kathy Buggs. Thank you, ladies. Thank you so much. I really do appreciate you so much.
Love you.